MCS. I hope you guys love doing all of our face mapping that we just finished up last week. I cannot wait to see all of your finished faces as you start emailing them to me. And this week we're going to take it a little bit more of a calm, fun, playful direction. We are going to actually be drawing bubbles. I have some right here. And what I love about this project is that we get to play with the element of color a lot, with blending and shading and using all of the colors in the rainbow as we're creating these. Plus, it's very easy and each one can be different and they still look awesome and cool. So to start this project, you are going to need something to make circles with, whether it's just a shape that you found around your house, or if you have templates or any other kind of tool like that. Grab something to make some circles with. Different sizes of circles would be good. Black cardstock or a dark cardstock if you have it. You can do this with white paper. It just looks really fun when it's on a super dark cardstock. And then your colored pencils. Grab those, come back, and I'm going to show you how to make these really fun bubbles. Okay, so to get this started, we want to pick whatever shapes that we want. Now, I want to see at least one bubble done, but you can fill your page with as many bubbles as you want. Like this one, I have them kind of floating all around. If you notice that I put my biggest bubble, not dead center, but slightly off to the right or off to the left, depending on how I'm holding the page. So it's not dead center, top to bottom or left to right. It's slightly up. And when you think of the rule of thirds, that's going to kind of give a little bit more visual interest, and it's going to put that biggest bubble in more of a natural focal point. So picking the layout of where you want all of your bubbles. As I demonstrate here, I'm going to just do one, but you can fill your page and put them wherever you feel like. Change the sizes so there's a little bit of variety. I'm just going to trace that circle. You can come in after you have one circle traced. You can come back in and put a smaller circle within it. And I'm kind of checking to make sure I have it even so it's not lopsided within the other circle. And you can do that a couple of times. By doing that, what you're going to do is you're going to create these guidelines for the shape of that sphere. Okay? So now we have the 3 circles coming in, and we're going to pick a really light color to outline this with. If you have black cardstock, you can do this with white, and that's perfect. If you have a white sheet of paper, go for like a light colored blue or pink or something like that, and get a really nice sharp pencil. You can go back to actually the shape that you traced it with originally, and we're going to kind of come in here and we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to do different sections with the bright white. And then I'm actually going to come in and steal another color, and you guys can pick whichever colors you're wanting to do this with. Each bubble is going to look different, and you don't have to feel like you have to have it exactly the same. I'm going to lay a different color down in between my whites. Okay. Now here's where you can kind of take on tons of different designs. You see some of these I did a bunch of starbursts on, or light rays. And then some of these I did more traditional kind of shaped highlights that are coming out. Some of them I kept them very circular. It's like they are really following these guideline circles. And then some of them I didn't. I really kind of just brushed the color around the bubble. So you have a lot of freedom to be able to do what you want with those. I'm going to come in, I'm going to put in another highlight that kind of looks like these ones right here. These ones here, and these ones here. So it's like a little double highlight. And I'm going to follow that line, that circle that I drew with my pencil right below. And I'm going to do another one right below it. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. And in that bottom corner of it, I'm going to darken it with that white. Or if you guys are doing it on a white piece of paper, you can do it with your light colored blues or something like that. I'm also going to give a little bit of a highlight coming up from the bottom, And this one's going to kind of curve up and come up from my white and come up into my second row of circles. And I'm going to get that nice and saturated. Like that. Let's do some little points on the circle where it looks like that light might be really bright. Some other highlights. Now this is very like easy going. You can kind of decide how you want to do this all on your own. It's not, there's not a rhyme or reason to it, just kind of laying out some different highlights as you're creating your shape. All right, now going in with the green, I'm going to actually start to kind of lay my pencil more flat. I'm not coming with it straight up and down. I'm holding it flat so that I can get a softer coloring where that color kind of fades in and out as I'm laying it down. And I'm going to come in and just pick up some of those spots on the outer circle that I colored green, and I'm going to let that green just kind of fade around. Let it be dark in some spots, lighter in other spots. And some of these places I'm going to try to stay within those inner circles that I used as guidelines, and then some of them I'm actually going to kind of just go right past them because it's just going to add more visual interest. So I'll bring that green up a little bit more. Now when you're looking at a bubble, you see all of the rays of light being dispersed on it, and so you get a rainbow. So I want you guys to think of all of the different kinds of colors that you would see in a rainbow. Now you would also see, if the bubble was sitting in front of something, it would be reflecting the light of what the object is around it as well. So let that all kind of come in and factor into your bubble. So I'm going to take it to, let's go blue next. And I'm going to go for a really dark blue. And I'm going to come by my green and maybe overlap my green a little bit. But I'm not going to mirror it or outline my green at all. I'm just kind of putting these other little elements of the blue around my bubble. Like that. I'm going to go in for my really, really light blue. And that one I really love to follow my white. So it almost looks like it's kind of fading. So if you have some of your like white highlight spots, you can come in and add a little bit of that blue right there around it, and it's just going to feel like it kind of faded up into that bright highlight spot. I'll put some even down in here. All right, so we've got a lot of cool tone colors in there. A little bit more of this mid-tone blue right here on these highlights. Maybe a little out here on some of those little highlight marks that I put out on the outer edge of the bubble. But I really want to get some warm colors in there so that it just kind of keeps adding that variety, and I can work on blending them and adding tones to them as I go. So I'm going to come in with some pink, and I'm going to kind of fill this space with kind of a cloudy spot. Like it's not going to really follow any of those lines too much. It's just going to kind of fill, put some more pink in over here. I'm going to come up with my pencil straight up and down, and I'm going to get a very hard pink line out here on the outside of the bubble, and then kind of let it fade in. And I'm going to put some pink up in here. So you're just kind of finding different sections that you can spread that color around the bubble so it looks like it really is reflecting that color throughout. You can make some of those spots really blurry. So this is a really good way of being able to practice your value change with your colors. And then you can make some of them like very crisp and bright. So you can have that blurry to that crisp and bright color. And pull that pink in a little bit more. All right. Let's get some yellow in there as well. So we have a little bit of all the colors kind of showing up. And this yellow, you know, from the rainbow, yellow and blue make green. So I'm kind of like popping some of that yellow in on the edges of some of my green. I can make it smoky. I can make it crisp, just like we did with the pink. And kind of let it like fade in and out around this bubble. And just like I said before, some of those can be really vivid yellow lines, and then some of them can be more of your smoky kind of hazy colors. I come in with some orange. I would take that up into my pinks as well. A little bit out here. And pretty much at this point, you're really just blending and blending, taking all of the different colors that you can find, like taking your blues into some purples, into some magentas, that kind of thing. And just keep working with it. You can take some of your orange and you can make part of that orange a whole lot more red. And let that kind of fade into the color as well. You can keep adding your highlights. So as I'm working on this, I'm seeing, you know what, I really think that there should be some more highlights in this bubble to kind of set off some of these really saturated color spots. And you can kind of play with those highlights. They can be just little dots. It can be bigger. I'm going to take these two outer ones into really small starbursts so that you can see how to do that. Sharpen your pencil, get it really nice and sharp and to a point. And it's going to be that flicking hand motion that we would do when we were drawing construction lines using in our perspective drawings. So you kind of like let that line flick off, and you want it to be very straight lines. Then you can kind of come in around the edge. And this part kind of reminds me of when we're drawing eyes and shading eyes, you're kind of coming in by where the iris would be and letting that kind of like doing that just zigzag coloring and letting that kind of fade out. Keeping those lines very straight as they're coming out. They're not curving like we would if we were, doing an eyelash or something like that. We're just letting those light rays just really bounce around and reflect. I'm going to put some reflection on this one as well. And then right around the edge of that circle, that inner circle that we drew, I'm just going to kind of fuzz it out a little bit more. And I can come back to that really light blue I used and chase that little outer rim that we did with the white so that it adds to that kind of fading value change there. And then take it even a little bit further with a darker blue on the outer portion. So you just keep working this. Change your colors. If you used a certain color of green one time, try using a different one. Bring it in close to where some of your other greens were and let it kind of fade in and out. The more that you add to it and the more value change you have, the more of a burnish that you give it, then you're going to create more of a shiny look to your bubble. And one of the things that's really fun to do is as you're getting towards the end, if you come back in with a black colored pencil, even though your whole paper is black, by coming back in with black, you can create some really high contrast on certain portions of your highlights. Like if you wanted to come to one side of your highlight and just draw a really thin black line, or some of the dark spots, you want to make them just a little bit darker, so you kind of come in and you can put that black in there. It's actually going to add more depth and interest to it because of that high contrast. Like you see in this one, I have a lot of little strokes of black going throughout just to kind of add a little bit more intensity to the color contrast. I want to add a little bit more of variety with your magentas and things like that too. Lots of color blending is going to make this be something that you were really happy with. Right here we have a really big space of just a lot of green. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to knock some of that green down. I'm going to kind of come right next to this yellow line that I put in, and I'm going to put a little bit of purple. And because I already have that green in there, that purple is going to blend in with the green I have. And then I'm going to come and pick up a really dark blue and put some of that blue in there, and then that way it kind of just breaks up that space a little bit, adds a little bit more interest, a little bit more purpley blue color in on top of this magenta here. So like that, and you can just keep working with them. I did a bunch of these with my daughters. So this one was the one that I did. This is one that Molly did, and you can see that there is a whole lot larger of highlights, but you can see the kind of rainbow fading right in that, and that looks awesome. This one she put the highlight on the very back of the bubble. There's another one with some of those very large highlights. And there's a couple more. So you can kind of let, even within the highlight, it kind of do a rainbow fade as it's going, and that's just going to add a whole lot more intensity. You can see in the background she kept it very light, and she kept her highlights the very vivid color. So this one was Claire's. So take your time, have fun. The color, the more color that you add, that's going to be what makes it stand out and pop on these dark sheets. And the more blending that you do, that's going to be what makes it something that you're going to be really proud of. I'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to email me all of your compositions. I can't wait to see them. You guys are doing a great job. Bye.
My bubbles.